Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of I Am I. My name is still Joshua Ansley. So today I want to talk about evocation, right? Evoking something from within ourselves and being able to evoke something within our partners, whether it be relationships, intimate partners or business partners, whoever we're relating with, right? So it's really powerful. Like the practice of yoga helps us in this for so many ways. The physical practice can evoke an emotional response in us. You know, we take a warrior pose or we take a child's pose. You know, what does it invoke in us to be folded, to be bowing down? That humility, that devotion, that surrender, whatever that is. You know, I don't want to force it, but you allow that pose to have something, bring something up in us, right? And so we can actually use the physicality of the pose to learn to evoke these different emotions. You know, if you're about to go on stage and you're nervous, you could strike a power pose, right? To really have yourself move into an emotional state that we are not commonly in, that we're not used to, right? So the physical practice of yoga, moving the body into different positions, can help us move into different emotional states, right? So that we're not just using the same old emotional palette that we have. And as we learn to advance and we learn to grow our emotional palette, then we start really having emotional mastery over our lives. Then we start to really learn how to respond, not just react. See, reacting is coming from our emotional conditioning, our childhood conditioning, right? And that is a long, arduous, difficult process to work out of that you're probably going to be doing for the rest of your journey. But once you know your triggers, once you know what they are, then we're not going to be ruled by them. If you are ruled by your emotions, you are absolutely missing out on life. The emotional states of who we are is just a small little piece of who we are, right? So we have to allow ourselves to not be ruled about how we feel about things. Don't allow yourself to be ruled by how you feel about your partner, right? If they are your partner, and this now look, if you're in a fucking unhealthy, abusive relationship or something like this, you know, people come to me and they say, oh, you're talking about unconditional love and I'm giving, and it's an abusive thing. And I'm like, well, get the fuck out. That's not who I'm talking to. I'm talking about two people that have committed to being in a relationship and understand that they have a desire and a remembrance of the best in that person. So how do we remember the best in that person, right? And because if we're not getting it, there's a way to evoke these things within ourselves, to learn how to evoke these emotional responses in ourselves that maybe we're not used to. Maybe we're used to being in certain physical positions or in certain, you know, because communication is 90% nonverbal. 90% nonverbal. Do we know how our bodies are communicating to our lovers or to our business partners, right? And so we have to be aware of what our emotional response is that is coming from that physicality that we're taking. And once we learn to understand and manage these emotions, once we've worked through our lower childhood conditioning and we don't just react, we don't react just aggressively or passive aggressively, we can start to pepper in, or I don't know, paprika if you don't like pepper, or whatever subtle flavor you want, right? We can start to have an emotional mastery. We start to create a symphony, right, or a masterpiece with our emotions, with this wide palette and this range that we have. And the physicality can help that. Like I said, you know, it's learning to sit and to see what is evoked when we're in child's pose, to learn to be devotional, to humble ourselves to something larger, to humble yourself to the larger aspect of your partner, to that thing that you remember, that you know in them, right? And but it's about being authentic. This is about how to express your needs and your wants in a way that is going to help evoke the best out of them so that you too can be happy, so that everyone can be satisfied, right? So it's about, because you get angry at somebody and, you know, your reaction would be like, I'm so fucking angry right now. So angry at you. But you can learn to actually pepper in some sort of different emotions. You can learn to pepper in playfulness. Or you can learn to pepper in seduction. Even with movement, you can remind yourself to get back into that space through a seductive movement within your body, and you can keep that anger there, and then you can pepper in the seduction, and you say, I am so angry at you right now. And then it becomes Zeus and Hera. Then it becomes a god and a goddess. And it becomes deeper down into these beautiful layers of emotional states. Because let him know. Let him know where he's failing you. Even if it's a tantrum, but instead of like bitching, you're complaining and just being like let him see the vulnerability of where he's not he's not reaching you, where he's not stepping up to the God that he is, you know? But the goddess needs to express that, because the goddess needs to express that to her God in a way that is going to help evoke the God out of him, right? To let him see where your heart is breaking because he's not being the man that you know that he is. So when we can get past just that, again, that childhood conditioning and that knee-jerk reaction and that black and white, to get out of the black and white and see that there is this range of emotions, that you can have different senses of emotions at the same time, that there's layers. That takes work, that takes an ability, and then to practice bringing in these emotions into our relationships. Because if they don't come naturally, or if they're not in your milieu, I don't know what the fuck, I can't remember what the word is, right? If they're not in your repertoire, then you need to practice bringing them in. The physicality can even help there, because that is, again, where we can help find that emotional state within ourselves. So again, this is also coming from a space of knowing that you've committed to a relationship with somebody that you see the deeper sides of them, that you believe and know, because it's going to take patience. It might take over time to really sit there and let him see that. Let him see your heart breaking. And then if he knows and he's not doing anything about it eventually, then it's time to go. But give him a chance to reawaken. Let the goddess in you reawaken the God in him, and let the God in you reawaken the goddess in her. So I talked about a couple weeks about light her up. Be the container for her. So understand and know your emotions, so you're just not knee-jerk reacting. And working down into those lower spaces, and come together in this. That you're together in it. Remember that you're working together. And ultimately, so watch your emotional responses to it, So learn to respond instead of react, and pepper in these different colors so you can be honest and you can hit something in him that it's never hit before, because you're telling me this and it's waking me up in a way that is actually making me feel, like I want to do something for you, because I want to give to you, because look what you're giving to me. Look at the vulnerability, but the strength at the same time that you're giving to me. So dig down into those deep emotional palettes, right? Expand your emotional palette so that you can give that masterpiece to your partner, and you can live an artful life. In Lakesha Lakin, I am you, you are me. Namaste. What? Too much?